Hi, I'm Larry from Hagemeister's Enterprises, and today we're going to talk about the assist spring in Delco Starters, in early Delco Starters. This is an example of an early Delco starter, would be on a late 60s GM product. It's a cast iron nose cone. The staggered mount pattern is really easy to identify, and typical GM type starter with the connections here in the back. And here's one of the solenoids here as well. We're going to talk about that. So in testing these solenoids, you connect from here to here. So your start wire goes to here, which has an S terminal on it, and then your motor wire goes here. When you do an amp draw across this solenoid, it has a pretty good amp draw, and I have that written on this solenoid here. But one of the issues of the early GM vehicles is they only used a 14 gauge key on wire. So this is a 14 gauge switch wire that would have went right here to start the engine. And later on, around 1972, they increased that to a 10 gauge wire to the start terminal, which would be right here. Well, with all that said, back to the solenoid, I did an amp draw test on this a little bit ago, which is again between here and here, and it's a 40 amp draw. That's a lot of current for a 14 gauge wire. So when you look at a wire gauge chart, which is right on our business cards, right on the back, I've highlighted it, 40 amps takes a minimum of 10 gauge, even starting out at 3 feet. So that's a pretty good amp draw. So it's no wonder why they didn't work. And people had hot start problems and different issues like that. So what Delco did to try to address the problem is they installed an assist spring, which is a 1932-209 is the part number. It's right here. And the regular solenoid spring is right here. So when you try to engage the solenoid with your small 14 gauge wire, it would try to go, but without the assist spring it would not. It would get hot and a typical GM hot start. So this spring, which is right here, installed in a starter, which is a armature that came out of this kind of a starter, you see it's forcing the drive out. So as you can see in the photo, when the solenoid is at rest, the big heavy spring is keeping this compressed like this. And as soon as you put some current on the S terminal, even though you only have a 14 gauge wire, this assist spring will help engage that drive into the flywheel and get the engine started. As it starts, of course, it comes back and then you're in your rest position. But that's an assist spring that Delco came up with back in the 60s. We did some research here and we came up with 66 different part numbers that starter would have went on. It's all the Delco numbers are right here. But with all that said, this is a photo out of an old Delco manual that shows what that assist spring is for. So we get a lot of people with the original cars back in the day, 60s, 70s, and they want to put it back all original. So original is going to be a 14 gauge start wire. It's original harness. So in order to make that happen, we're going to have to install an assist spring like the starter would have came with when it was new. But these springs get removed in rebuilt units, and you know, time and goes by, and they don't realize why it won't start. Some people install these little cube relays trying to get them to start, and that's fine, but that's not original. We're trying to keep these vehicles original as they came, and that's what'll make it work, is this assist spring, just like Delco wanted a long time ago, and it does work fine. As I mentioned earlier about the cube relay, lots and lots of vehicles today all have start relays because of the amp draw of the solenoids, and so the manufacturers realized that and put start relay in almost every vehicle there is today. Back in the early 60s, when Delco was addressing this problem, by installing the assist spring, the manufacturer didn't have to change anything on their wiring or anything. The starter would engage and work because of this assist spring again. But I wanted to show you, years ago, we're going to put a link on there. You can read an article I wrote about starters, make them last, break them. And that's one of the reasons why these starters would last way back when, is because of the brake washer. This is a brake washer on the end of the starter, and what that does is get the starter to a stop real quick. When this spring and the engine starts, and this spring pushes this back real hard, like it does in the rest position, this pushes it right up against the comm end cap to get that starter stopped real quick. That's when all the brush wear happens. People are confused about that. The brushes really don't wear by using them. It's the freewheel time. So with a wore out brake washer, without this spring, the starter is winding down to a stop. Takes quite a period of time, and as that's happening, it's wearing the brushes out quite bad. So again, that was another help on these starters, by going back, engine starts, shoving the drive back, pushing this against the comm end cap, the leather washers, your brake, bringing it to a stop real fast. Thanks for watching our videos. Leave your questions and comments. We'll be glad to answer them. Go to our website and check out what we do. And again, if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to get a hold of us or let us know any ideas you might have.